thinks that everything is just fun and comedy and laughter, right? Thinks that everything is just in balance. All right, mate, that's a better title, low key. But his life is hanging in the balance, and he thinks that everything is just fun and comedy and laughter, right? Um, a couple of verses are coming to my mind as I'm saying that. And look, I'm gonna say this. I know Esau put you up to this. We know that through the spirit. The so-called white man, Amalek, right? The so-called JWs, they put you up to this, right? We know that. We know what's going on through the spirit. We know what happens. We know that you ain't just choose to go out there and do this, right? Why you ain't making jokes about Catholics and Buddhists, things like that. Of course, you make jokes about the Christian pastor. They're a laughing stock. But why you ain't make jokes about the JWs, right? Is because those are the ones who you're not afraid to, the ones who you're not able to talk about, make fun of, right? But you'll easily make fun of your own people and your own heritage. This is your heritage, you buffoon. The so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are Israelites, and you sitting there making jokes about it. But you don't understand that the Lord is going to take your life. I'm just got to say it clear. The Lord is going to take your life, man. And he'll understand how serious it is when he's back in the spirit realm looking down, wishing he wouldn't have said and done what he done. All right? Now, I'm going to be honest as a disclaimer. Generally, I think he's a funny guy. Generally. But this is the one time you took it too far. Okay? All of your other jokes, and even when you making fun of our own people, all that shit, I'll laugh. Even though I know it's through, and you through with your blonde hair, when you read Leviticus 13 and 30 through 31, that you got a plague, that you got leprosy, right? They show you just want to be like an Edomite. You want to be like your oppressor. But 13 and 30 through 31, that yellow thin hair symbolizes that you got a plague. I'll laugh. Even though I know it's through, and you through with your blonde hair, when you read Leviticus 13 and 30 through 31, that yellow thin hair symbolizes that you got a plague, that you got leprosy, right? They show you just want to be like an Edomite. You want to be like your oppressor. But you don't understand that the Lord will judge him severely for making fun of his law, making fun of his words, making fun of his people. He doesn't understand that. All right, but let me get a verse here. This is Ecclesiastes 7 and 2. It says, "It is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting. For that is the end of all men, and the living will lay it to his heart." So it's better to go to the house of mourning. The Israelites, we are in the house of mourning. The true Israelites, right? You got camps. They out there. If that was a real camp that made that joke with you, the Lord going to destroy them too. But ultimately, it ain't no black power. Right? We're not black. We're different shades of brown. You just think it's a joke, right? But you in the house of feasting. It says better go in the house of mourning than the house of feasting. You turn it up, think you living a good life, going everywhere, making funny jokes. But all right, it's all good. You're gonna laugh now and you're gonna cry later, man. It's gonna be a weeping and a gnashing of teeth when the missiles come down, right? It says, "For that is the end of all men." Right, the house of feasting is the end of all men. The living gonna lay it to his heart. So a man who's in the right state of mind gonna be like, you know what? I'm not supposed to be in that spirit. All right. He's like, even when he's like, Christmas, that's the white man's holiday. Hey, it is, but you're making mockery of it. That's not representative of who the world ignorantly calls Jesus. All right. Who the world ignorantly calls Jesus? His name is Yahweh Shai, and he's a so-called black man, and he was not born in the winter. Okay. So that's true, but you're making mockery of it, making it seem like we just out there yelling stuff. You see, he didn't read out of the Bible. You saw he had like some book about American slavery. He was wise enough not to do that. But they out there yelling that's right and all this kind of stuff. It's not. It's more than that. It's more than that. Okay, you gonna